Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we are gonna do another fan fiction. The fan fiction name is Naruto Rebirth of the Yellow Flash. The link to the original post will be in the description. If you wanna read it for yourself, you can go down in the description to find the link to the website. That being said, let's get into the story. The Rebirth of the Yellow Flash. Namikaze Minato, a man known by the mocking of Yellow Flash, was the fastest shinobi to ever live. His skill in taijutsu, ninjutsu were good, but he was a master in fuinjutsu and one of its most rarely studied base of space-time ninjutsu. He invented the two most feared jutsus in the history of the Elemental Nation, which he used in the third grade shinobi war against a battalion of over 1,000 Iwa shinobi and came out victorious. This was the major turning point of the third grade shinobi war. These two jutsus were which came to be known as the Hiraishin no Jutsu and the Rasengan. Minato was considered an orphan when he was found at the village gates, but he was forced to hide his heritage because of an animosity he would have gained with the truth. His father, the once great leader of the Uchiha clan, Madara Uchiha, survived his battle with Hashirama Senju, with the first Hokage and wielder of the wood style. Madara Uchiha, after the battle at the Valley of End, started going away from Konoha with grave injuries. He walked through the forest for hours and was on the verge of dying from his wounds when he was found dead by a young woman with blonde hair and blue sparkler eyes. She took him to her home and treated to his injuries. Madara woke up after 3 days, still gravely injured, and looked around to find himself in a room on a bed and bandage wrapped around his torso and arm. He attempted to get up off his bed, but at a loud groan escaped his lips. The door suddenly opened, and the same woman he last caught a glimpse of in the forest came in and started chuckling on his checking on his wounds checking on his wounds. Flashback. At the first sight, Madra had to say she was a beautiful woman with shining blonde hair, sparkling blue eyes, and that had deep emotional and playful mischieful in them. She was wearing a simple pink kimono that hung to her curves, and she walked with a grace that Madra noticed could be found only in Koshinos of noble own clans. As he came back to his senses, he asked the woman, "Where am I?" To which the woman replied, "You are very injured when I found you, so I brought you here to tend to your injuries. Thank you. May I ask who you are? Who are you?" asked Mara, to which she replied, "My name is Mia Namikaze. May I know yours?" Madara nodded, replied, "Madara Uchiha, former leader of the Uchiha clan. I lost the fight versus my best friend and was forced to flee in the condition you found me. I thank you for helping me because I would surely have been dead had you not rescued me." Mia nodded in accordance and began to check on his bandages. After finishing on his bandages, she gave him some food, a few medicine, and left him to rest. After a month of recuperation, Madra noticed that his injuries were much too great, and she was he shall never be at the level he once was. He continued to stay at the woman's house and found out that she was of the Namikaze clan, a small clan back during the war. A small clan back during the Warring Clans era and left when she was a quite young girl due to not liking the violence which she knew all too well about. She had a kind and gentle nature and had some training in shinobi arts. Many months passed and Madara was treated try, was try, trying tried of the fighting and noticed that he no longer had anything to fight for. After the betrayal of his clan, he fell in love with the woman that had saved him all those months ago. He married her after 5 years and had a child. The child was named Minato Namikaze. Didn't add his son name so as to protect the boy from his father's repercussions. 3 years later, the child was started training in shinobi arts at the age 6 activated at the age 6 activated the Sharingan, the birthright of the Uchiha clan. And somehow Kumongoji caught whiff of the Madra's survival and his family. The Sandemon Raikage sent five Anbu 5 Anbu squads to kill the man and retrieve his son to obtain the Sharingan for Kumo. They ambushed the house while Madara was out and his wife died trying to protect her son, and Madara arrived at the home in her last moments and a battle ensued with an enraged Madara. He kicked the two Kumo shinobi out of the house and engaged them in battle. Though crippled, he was still a fearsome shinobi. The rest fled along Rang lightning attack while dodging. Madara started going through lightning fast handsil and yelled, "Fire style, great fireball jutsu!" And arrows started of fire emerged from his mouth and suddenly exploded into a giant hall of inferno. Two squads were crushed immediately while the rest narrowly dodged. A shinobi suddenly came behind Madara and swiped his sword which grazed Madara. Madara narrowed his eye at the sword and noticed it was poisoned. He engaged him with a kunai, which was infused with the wind chakra and cut right through the Kumo shinobi's sword and ripped his arm off. The rest went through and sealed and yelled, "Lightning style, gale lightning!" A lightning bolt launched out from the Kumo shinobi's hand and towards Madara, and with no way to dodge, Madara's Sharingan started spinning dangerously and began changing shape. Suddenly, intelligent skeleton bones started forming around Madara, and a purple being formed around him as Madara yelled, "Susano!" The attackers combined and a huge burst was formed when the smoke cleared. Madara was on his knees, panting. The Susano is still standing strong. Madara realized that he wouldn't last long if the battle continued longer and needed to finish it in a single blow. He pushed more chakra into the Susano and the Susano started forming four hands, a skull over all which an armor formed. The hands pulled out the sword over which Madara contracted his Sharingan and the black flames of Amaterasu consumed them. He swiped the sword over the Kumo shinobi. Four shinobis were sliced in half while the rest were consumed by the flames. As the battle ended, Madara coughed up blood and started to walk towards his house. In the house, he saw that his wife was sitting against the wall in a pool of blood. He kneeled down beside her as tears escaped his eyes. His wife smiled softly at him and laid a hand on his cheek. He kissed her for her own last time as she told him to take care of their son and told him she loved him as the last breath escaped her lips and she closed her eyes. He screamed in agony and cried, asking the gods why. Why did he have to lose his brother for the clan only to be betrayed by his clan? And now the only girl he ever loved died. Why? He thought about fighting on and getting revenge, but immediately stopped at that chain of thought and decided to look for his son. Then he put his two fingers on the ground and extended his sensory abilities and found his son to be in a back house used for storage. He slid the door open and walked in and saw his son curled up in a ball sobbing. He walked toward him and embraced his son in a hug as he sobbed uncontrollably. He picked him up and walked into his son fell asleep in his arm. He put him to bed and started writing a letter. The letter was addressed to his friend first, to his friend Tobirama Senju and explained to him the whole situation. Madara knew that Tobirama was an intelligent and unbased individual and wouldn't hesitate to help his son. After half an hour, he finished it and rolled it up the scroll. Into another scroll, he started sealing some money, clothes, basic ninja tools such as kunai, shuriken, and ninja wire, and the various jutsu scrolls he possessed. As he finished, his son walked in, and Madara told him to get ready to leave. Both father and son started burying their wife/mother, started jumping through the trees towards Konohara no Sato. As the village came into sight, Madara stopped, and so did his son. He handed down the two scrolls to his son, who looked at him constantly. He took a deep breath and sighed, knowing this wouldn't be easy. He started, "Son, you have to go to the village alone, and from here on out, I will not be with you for here on, because my shadow will always keep you in danger, and my enemies will not stop to harm you if you stay with me any longer. Therefore, from here on, you will have to live alone. Go and become a great shinobi worthy of your heritage. Make them, make them me, and your mother proud." By the end, his son had tears in his eyes and leaped in his father's arm as he told him he wouldn't leave. After some persistence, he nodded as he told him he would come and meet him after he has grown stronger and tested him. He nodded and told him the next time he meet him, he would beat him to the ground, to which his father chuckled and told him he had no doubt, and ruffled the boy's hair. He told his son to give the letter to Tobirama Senju and that it would explain him everything and to never tell anyone who his father was. He watched as his son walked through the gates of the village as a tear escaped his eyes, and he said to no one in particular, "Sorry, my son, but with my injuries I wouldn't last longer and I wouldn't be able to meet you again. For forgive me." Time skip. to the day of QB attack. Minato, Namikaze, and his wife were going to have some new addition to their family. Minato was excited that he was going to be a father to three children at once, two daughters and a son. Oh, how he wanted to train his son to be a shinobi so that he would make his old man proud, and Minato already knew that Kushina always wished for a daughter. The sense seal on Kushina had held up pretty well, and just before birth, Minato had resealed and strengthened it again just to be sure. Suddenly, a nurse came from the OT and told him that everything had gone perfectly well and that the children, along with their mother, were perfectly safe. Minato had heaved a breath, sighing of relief that last part. Hearing the last part, Minato had immediately rushed in, and a wide smile had broken across his face when he had seen a excited Kushina laying on the bed holding three precious children in her arms. He had Ginji taken in the two identical looking daughters from her arms, and had observed that the girls had retrained their mother rena- retained their mother's red hair and violent eyes. Minato had handed them back to Kushina after a moment's deliberation, and he had went on to take his son into his arms, smiling year to year. Minato's son had inherited his strong Namikaze genes, and the boy looked just like his father. The boy had inherited his father's spiky blonde hair and spire blue eyes as well, and had three whisker marks on each of his cheeks to boot. His son was going to be a lady killer and have a fan club. Minato mushed giddily. Much giddily. Kushina had already told him that she was going to name her daughters Narumi and Mito, and Minato had already told her that he was going to name his son Naruto, and for once the blinking couple had mutually agreed with one another. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a masked man wrapped into the room through a vortex and launched a hail of kunais at Minato. Minato instantly jumped back and slightly dodged the kunai while the marksman went on to take advantage of his position to skip a selection a few words before warping Kushina and himself towards the vortex again. Fourth Hokage, I'll be taking the Jinchuriki from here, and you should act fast. At least see your daughters become a little. He paused for a moment's deliberation. Craves. The Marx fellow added with a child's chuckling and disappeared along with Kushina. Minato wondered for a moment if he was even sense or what he meant, but took one look in the crib of his daughters to see them wrapped in a blanket with exploding tags, and his throat dried out pretty quickly. He picked up his children and used his Raishin no Jutsu to teleport out in time as the room in the hospital exploded behind his back. Minato sat on his knees in silent concentration. His eyes tracked a dry leaf fell down from a tree. and his arms clapped the Shonin infant to his chest. Not a moment later, he disappeared into the thin air before the lift would make contact with the ground. Minato brought his children back to his house and put them on the bed. He took two of his three-pronged kunais with him from the table and again used the Hiraian mark on Kushina's seal and teleported to where she was. As he came to the clearing, he dreadfully saw that the QB had been freed and that thanks to the gods above, Kushina had somehow managed to survive the extraction, but that was all he could thank them for, as she was just about to be penetrated by its claw. He picked her up bridal style and teleported to a nearby mark, thereby escaping the attack. The marksman laughed once again in the innocent, childlike manner. "You are just as fast as your name suggested, aren't you? You just like the stories say, yellow flash," he chuckled. Minato turned to him to give him a icy glaze that for a reaper of a reaper, a veteran shinobi, an army killer, a glaze of a legend. The masked man had shivers running down his spine, seeing his icy, sharpier blue eyes and the concentration exploding and the determination those eyes held. Minato thought through. She said nothing and teleported back to his house, where he laid Kushina down beside the triplets and stepped back. His eyes glazed over what he would have to do and how he wouldn't be able to see his children grow up if only Kushina wasn't unjust or Jinjuriki was in only if Kushina wasn't injured or Jiraiya was in the village, they would have stubborn the Biju and gone on resealing it without any loss of life. But now there was only one seal that would be able to subdue as well as seal the Biju. But he had to turn his own children into Jinjuriki and consider the worst taboo against was taboo onto his children. Her eyes locked at him gleaming. "What are you going to do now, Minato?" whispered Kushina, already dreading his answer. I will have to split the demon and seal it into our children." Minato confessed quickly and in a heavy voice. "I cannot ask another parent to sacrifice their children if I can't do it to my own. How I will split it, I haven't decided, but I will figure it out, don't you worry," he said in a rushing tone, but Kushina started crying. "You are going to use that jutsu, aren't you?" she asked him in sobs. Minato looked down slowly. "There is no other way, but at least I can rest happy that they will have you watching over them," he admitted, and she nodded. She hugged her children tightly to her chest and cried as Minato put on his cloak, created four shadow clones and clones who teleported to a clearing outside the village, and he himself teleported to on top of the Hokage monument, only to see the QB destroying the better half of his village in a crazed rampage. Minato activated his Sharingan and flared his chakra to turn the QB's attention toward him. He watched his Sharingan flaring as the QB started grazing chakra near his mouth and considered it into a space before launching it towards him. Minato knew instantly that should be he let that attack hit, then everything and everyone near the mountain will be destroyed as well as well. That wasn't an outcoming he as the Hokage was willing to take place, not as long as he was still breathing. Minato went through several handsills and put his hands forward. Kaijin spread in the kanji spread in the air as it started absorbing the Bijudama and teleported outside the village. The villagers cheered, seeing the Hokage take control of the battle. Though the hoods and the chairs, Minato felt his inside screaming danger as he felt a presence behind him. Switching around, he saw his arm around, he saw a sword his arm around and placed a kunai at the masked man's head, but was stunned when it phased right through his head and the enemy had grabbed his wrist in an iron bind. The masked man who spoke almost in a serious tone with this time completely different from his childish tone before. It's over. He started drilling. Minato smirked, exploding, and took the marksman by complete surprise. The invisible crowd is burned body and Sitham at beginning fooled by a mere substitution. Moreover, he had taken quite a bit of damage from that unexpected effective attack. Minato teleported to a rooftop near the Biju, and with his thumb he went through a handsill, a chain of handsill, and slammed his palm onto the ground. Ninja art, summoning jutsu, food cart destroyer. The whole ground rumbled as Gamabunta appeared on top of the QV and slammed his butt over his head. The Bijudama he was preparing disappeared from his adult disappearance. Eesh, Minato, Minato, why the hell did you summon? And oh, is that the QB I'm sitting on? Gamabunta yelled fractionally just as Minato hopped on top of his head and started gathering his own chakra. Bunta, just hold down the QB for a moment. I will substitute it and seal it into my children, he said, and Gamabunta slammed his back over QB, who tried to row in defiance. Stand down, yeah, stupid mutt. Minato. Do you really think it is wise to seal it into your own children? You know what kind of life Jinchurikis lead. Are you sure about this? He asked, and Minato had a solemn look on his face. There is no other way, he sighed. Besides, Kushina will take care of them. The only regret I have is that I wouldn't be able to make my son into the shinobi I want him to be with my own hands, and watch my daughters grow up into the fine women I know they will be, he admitted, and Gamabonta nodded with a sad smile. Minato finished gathering his chakra and teleported them outside the village in the clearing where his clones had already set up a barrier. Minato, I wouldn't be able to hold it down for long. Summon Pa and Ma for help, yelled Gamabunta. Minato nodded bit his thumb and started going through handsills before smashing his palm on the ground. Ninja arts, summoning jutsu, two small but very ancient looking toads surfaced in action. Minato-chan, what is going on here? Why is Gamabunta sitting on the QB? And why is it free? What happened to you? What have you called us for here? What have you called us here for? Asked Pa in a frenzy. Ma turned her glance to Minato as both came to an knot, feeling the dread coil in their heart upon understanding the situation. Pa, Ma, I am going to split the QB and seal it into my children. Minato confessed his worries, confirmed their worries. Please, I need your help. Hold it down for me while I set up the ritual. He requested depressedly, and Ma and Pa nodded. They rushed to the QB to hold it down using Sage Jutsu, while Minato created a shadow clone who teleported and brought his children and Kushina along to help stabilize stabilize and check the seal. After the sealing was done, Minato went through a chain of hand seal and summoned the ritual altar from hell, while the clone kept his children on the altar. Minato went through Hansil on last time and clapped his hands together. Forbidden secret art, dead demons consuming seal. A feeling of dread and coldness swept over the field as the Shinigami appeared behind Minato. What do you wish to seal, mortal? Questioned the Shinigami just as Hiruzen, Kakashi, and Tsunade appeared outside the barrier only to helplessly witness the sealing take place. Shinigami-sama, I wish to seal the QB into my children. My wish is to split it and seal it into them. Minato wished. The Shinigami Oak spoke up again. The children wouldn't be able to hold half of the chakra and would soul together. Their body will not be able to withhold the stain, and the seal will clash. I must lead it in and young chakra and split them for its consideration and body consuming and body to seal it separately. Choose, mortal, which child will hold what. Shinigami started chanting. Minato mumbled over it for a minute. His daughter had strong Uzumaki genes, like their mother, and should be able to hold its chakra effectively, while Naruto would most possibly will inherit his Sharingan and control it consumingly should he never need its aid. Minato had already had his decision made. Shinigami-sama, seal the consuming and body in my son, and the chakra in my daughters. He confessed. The Shinigami said nothing, warping to plane his hand through Minato's chest and sealed the chakra after splitting them into his daughters while he sealed the conscience and body into his son. Consciousness and body into his son. Minato added a four symbol seal on Narumi and Mito, while he added another 8 tetragram seal onto Naruto to balance the chakra that the QB might recover over the years and leak it onto the boy's coils slowly after perfuming it. After all, so that his chakra coils become strong enough for holding the enhanced strength of the QB over the years. Minato, after the pain of his jutsu, takes a toll on his body and fell down on his knees just as the Shinigami spoke one final time before he claimed his payment. You have 15 minutes. Do you your last deeds in this realm for your honorable for your honorable sacrifice. See and do what you want in this last moment before I claim your soul and take you to the afterlife forever. The Shinigami started and Minato nodded gratefully. The shadow clones around him disappeared and the barrier fell, making everyone gather around him. Minato, what have you done? Hiruzen cried. Tsunade, treat him. He needs it now. He shouted, seeing his successor's condition. Kushina was crying heavily on the sideline when Minato stopped Tsunade from treating him. The buxom blonde tried to protest, but he cut her off. It's of no use, Tsunade. Minato admitted softly. The Shinigami has given me 15 minutes for my last moment to be with you. Please, it's useless. As for the ceiling, the children were not strong enough to hold all of the Kyuubi's chakra, so I split its chakra into yin and yang and sealed it in my daughters for their strong Uzumaki genes, and it constitution and the body rest in my son. He said, looking at Hiruzen for the last part. Everyone looked on in sadness at the sacrifice Minato had made for the village, all of them unable to do anything to help him. Kushina stopped crying for a moment and hugged him, sobbing thickly in his chest. Kushina-chan, Minato whispered softly, stroking her hair. Please go and check if the seal have stabilized or not. See if the children are alright or not. I wouldn't be able to rest in peace if my children had to suffer because I had made a mistake in sealing, he said with a winch, and she got her humble with nod to the children at the altar. He smiled as he saw her kiss and check over his daughters. At least they will have the love of their mother. But Minato's eyes turned icy and clever when he saw a fling of emotion pass through Kushina's eyes as he glanced at Naruto with utter hatred and disdain in her eyes while she checked on his seal. Suspicion and seniority started playing in Minato's mind, and seeing this, he decided to take confirmation just in case. And so Minato turned to Hiruzen with veteran shinobi eyes. Hiruzen instantly came near him, seeing that look, and listened to him carefully. Sarutobi, get me three black scrolls. Get me three blank scrolls and a brush and some ink. Minato whispered. Hiruzen nodded and gave orders to the Anbu through secret hand signs, who brought him the required items in a second, and Hiruzen handed it to Minato. Minato started to write stroke upon stroke at a fast pace, and sealed the two scrolls with the Namikaze blood seal. Much to Hiruzen's suspicion, he added only Naruto's blood and chakra signature to them, and sealed the last one with Hiruzen's blood, just as he decided to leave the third with his last instruction. Hiruzen, I have to tell you something important, and I only trust you with this. Minato whispered, pressing the scroll on Sarutobi's chest. Hiruzen nodded wordlessly, hearing the gravity of his voice. The two scrolls with the Namikaze seals are my will and a letter to Naruto, both of which you shall give him at the time of his graduation. The entire Namikaze fortune shall be sealed until the time he graduated from the academy, as enough explanation and motion to claim them as his and his alone. I trust you judgment with its timing. The scroll with your blood seal is a letter that you must only open if Kushina ever decided to harm or abandon Naruto. Under no circumstance are you to let anything happen to him. As the hero? Have him seen as the hero of the village he is. Naruto shall be named the Namikaze clan heir due to his strong Namikaze genes, while Narumi and Minato will inherit the Uzumaki fort. I trust you to take care of Naruto if my suspicion come true. Can't I, Sarutobi? Hiruzen clasped his snake's hand and nodded tearfully, and reverse summon Ma and Pa at the time you reverse his heritage, reveal his and reverse summon Ma and Pa at the time you reveal his heritage. He must have the toad contract I have left them. There will be some instruction with them too. Minato coughed thickly, and while Hiruzen looked confused and stunned. But Minato, Kushina would never do such a thing. Why are you? He stopped pushing just as Minato asked him in a cold voice, "Do I have your word, Hiruzen Sarutobi?" Minato asked coldly, and Hiruzen looked at him with determined eyes and nodded. Minato didn't want to believe it too, but he wasn't going to leave it in the fate of his child helpless if his fears did in fact come true. Yes, you have it. Naruto will be taken care of like a prince and will get the positions you have left it your fear to in fact come true. I give you my word. Hiruzen promised. Minato smiled, nodding. He coughed up even more blood, and seeing the sand of his hand, he realized he didn't have much time left. Hiruzen, bring me my children. I want to see them. I want to hold them on last time. Minato whispered. Hiruzen went and brought him his children and Kushina along with him as he handed him the children while Minato looked at them lovingly. Live your lives as you want. Minato kissed their cheeks. You are all special. Don't let anyone let you tell otherwise. You must face some difficulties in your lives, but never fault. And now that I am always watching over you, and your daddy loves you, loves you three with all his heart. Minato sniffs, handing them to Hiruzen, who took them carefully in his arm. Minato, you can hold them some more. Hiruzen tailed off as he saw Minato's eyes drop close, and his hand dropped. A smile was painting on Minato's face, and some final tears rolled down his cheek. Kushina fainted from exhaustion and shocked, while everyone dropped their head in respect at the man's sacrifice as the strongest of all Hokages left this world. Don't worry, my friend, Hiruzen whispered. I will honor every wish of yours and look after Naruto as if he was my own child. He mumbled. Naruto cried, and Hiruzen tried to calm him down with a rock of his arm. After a few moments, Naruto fell asleep as Hiruzen took the children to the hospital along with his mother. Time skip 2 hours. Konoha Hospital. Hiruzen was standing in the hospital room after Hiruzen was standing in the hospital room after having his wound treated and was waiting for Kushina to wake up while he was to take care of the children. In the meantime, he had postponed the council meeting for the time being. The council members had protested but had shut up and left smiling after he had told them that he would retake his position as Hokage. Well, everyone except Danzo, who was happy, but that had been pretty obvious. Hiruzen from the start. Tsunade had left the lift after Minato's death, saying uh, she was she was going to live at Senju property in the fire capital along with Shizune she didn't as she couldn't live in the village after everyone she trusted had already died in this cursed village. She didn't want to see anyone dead, any more deaths. She had even left him the Shanodami's first Hokage's necklace, saying it was cursed as Minato was the last person she had given it to, and he too had died. She had actually thrown it in the trash, but Hiruzen had picked up his senseless legacy from someone who was worthy enough. Suddenly, Kushina's eyes fluttered open as Hiruzen rushed to her side. Sarutobi, where is Minato? Kushina asked somberly, and eyed her sadly. Minato is gone, Kushina, Hiruzen said mercilessly. He left us for a few moments after you fainted, he admitted, and silent tears streamed down Kushina's eyes. Where are my children, Hiruzen? She asked. Hiruzen stood up and went to the crib. Picking up the daughters, he handed them to her. Kushina smiled and cobbed at them while Hiruzen went back to fetch Naruto to hand him over to his mother. But Hiruzen's worst fears came true when Kushina slapped his hand away just as he tried handing Naruto over to her. What's the matter, Kushina? Hiruzen asked dreadfully. Don't you want to hold your son? He asked in confusion. Kushina looked at Naruto in utter contempt. Don't call that demon my son, Sarutobi, she explained vigorously, making Hiruzen's eyes go wild. That that thing took my husband away from me. Don't you dare call him my son. He is the QB's reincarnation. Those whiskers marks are proof enough. Kushina snared, snared at the child. Hiruzen took it all in with wild eye before his expression turned furiously red. What the hell are you talking about, Kushina? Hiruzen snapped right back. He just has the confusion and body of the consciousness and the body of the QB sealed inside of him. He is not the QB. Have you gone insane? You are a seal master yourself, and you are a Jinchuriki merely an hour ago. You are a Jinchuriki merely an hour ago. What's the matter with you? He asked fiercely while Kushina returned his look full force. I told you I don't have anything to do with that demon child. He was dead to me as soon as Minato sealed the monster's soul in him. Two souls and two souls, one of an infant and one of a demon conception. You make me laugh. As far as I am concerned, I only have two daughters, she spat with venom-laced voice. Kushina, please see reason, Hiruzen pleaded. You have been blinded by the loss and pain of Minato. Please see him. He is an innocent child indeed, in need of a mother, nothing more. He pleaded in a determination, tried to hand Naruto over to her, but Kushina tried to slap his hand again before Hiruzen retracted his arms defensively. Don't bring him close to me, Sarutobi, uh, or I swear will finish with what I started and kill him to avenge Minato's death. Don't bring him close to me, Sarutobi, or I swear I will finish what I started and kill him to avenge Minato's death, Kushina said in a promising tone, with such hate and stubbornness hate that Sarutobi knew she meant it and clinged that peaceful child to his chest protectively. I don't believe you, Kushina. You have fallen so low, Hiruzen whispered mercilessly. Very well then, I shall take care of the boy as my own, he admitted in a sternly voice to Kushina, who merely stiffened and looked back to her daughters. I will go reside in the fire capital where the Uzumaki property is situated under the property of the diamonds. Kushina's words took Hiruzen by surprise. I will raise my daughters over there and will come back during the time of their graduation after I am satisfied with their training. She promised, and Hiruzen nodded wordlessly. Minato, you truly were a genius in every sense of the word. I never believed Kushina would do such a thing for her own son until now, thing to her own son until now. But you saw right through her, even in the face of death, and took precautions. Don't worry, old friend. I will protect Naruto from every danger, whatever it be from outside the village or the inside. I will honor your every wish and give him his inheritance after he is ready and protect him until then. Hiruzen thought in his mind, I shall take some scroll and things from Namikaze compound too before I leave. Kushina broke his train of thought and know that I disown him from both and know that I disown him from both the Uzumaki and the Namikaze clans, she said as Hiruzen started his eyes and spoke in an even tone. I am sorry, Kushina, but Minato left significant information with me in case something like this happened after his death. He declared Naruto as his clan's heir in his dying moments and sealed off the Namikaze fortune until Naruto is and sealed off the Namikaze fortune until Naruto is ready to claim it. Until that time comes, no one shall touch a speck of grass on the Namikaze family fortune or their scrolls. He had already imagined this scenario even in the face of death and took necessary steps before he passed on. Minato has left me with significant interaction that you may do whatever you wish with the Uzumaki fortune, but the fortune of the Namikaze is sealed until the time I deem Naruto ready to claim it. Hiruzen said coldly. Kushina's eyes widened hearing this. Minato had sealed off everything from her and named it to that thing production. Prepossession. You can't do that to me, Kushina proceeded. I am his wife. The fortune is mine and our daughters. Minato would never do such a thing to me. The Namikaze fortune belongs to me and my daughters alone, not to that thing. She spat in utter confusion. That thing? as you so call, is the last child to inherit the strong Namikaze trades, and Minato has named him as his heir in the last moment. You do what you want with the Uzumaki fortune, but you will have no say in the Namikaze clan affairs from now on. I am the legal guardian to him until Naruto claims it. I am the legal guardian to it until Naruto claims it. And now I will take my leave. I have a council meeting to attend to. You can leave the village anytime you wish. The sooner the better. Hiruzen said as left her in the room and stomped his way out. Hokage Tower, Council Cambion. Hiruzen walked into the sector, scrambling to see all the clan heads already sitting on the right side of the civilian council on the left. The eldest seat directly in front of his seat. He took his seat with a soft snoring Naruto sleeping peacefully in his arm. Two Anbu stood guard behind him. Hiruzen brushed his whisker marks as marks just as Naruto snugged in his chest, making Hiruzen smile. Hiruzen brushed his whisker marks just as Naruto snuggled in his chest, making Hiruzen smile. Homura cleared his throat. Hiruzen, all of us would like to know what become of the QB. He asked the thought of everyone's mind, and everyone looked at him expectantly. The QB has been defeated and the threat has been passed. Minato used a forbidden jutsu to split and seal the QB. Hiruzen said as everyone sighed in relief, but Shukaku spoke up. Hokage-sama, Shukaku cut him off. You said he split and sealed the QB. What did he seal it into? He questioned. Everyone looked at Hiruzen while he cursed under his breath. Damn those Naras and their intelligence. I can't reveal Naruto's heritage to them. I can't reveal Naruto's heritage to them. He already have enough to deal with from external enemies after I reveal to them the truth of his burden. If his heritage is also known to, then we might have to deal with many assassins and kidnappers from the inside. Iowa and Kumo might even wish to abduct or eliminate the last true Namikaze heir. I will keep it to myself until I reveal it. Naruto, Hiruzen decided inwardly. I will just say Minato sealed it in his daughters and that Naruto is an orphan with no ties to his parents. So many people died tonight, so no one will ever suspect a thing. But I will have him seen as the hero he is. Minato, he thought with a smile. Well, Minato split the cube into three parts. He sealed the yin and yang part of its chakra into the newborn twin daughters Narumi and Mito, seeing that they had their mother's strong Uzumaki genes and had a good chance at controlling it, but he had to seal its body and soul into a separate entity, for which he chose young Naruto. His parents died tonight during the attack, and Minato made it his last wish for Naruto to be seen as a hero, and I have full faith in his abilities in his sealing, and so should you. He spoke pointedly, but that was all he said before all hell broke loose from the civilian part of the council. They started from the demon to be they shouted for the demon to be killed and their families to be avenged. The Hiruzen suppression left out and the part that Kyuubi will gain back a Hiruzen is purposefully left out the part that Kyuubi will gain back its chakra over time and that Naruto will become the true Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails after some years as part what Minato had told him about the chimene of his mechanic of his seal in his last moment. He didn't want Danzo to be too interested in Naruto and try to turn him into a weapon as Minato had once feared. Hiruzen wanted to keep his burden a secret, but he knew if it came out later, then it might even cause a civil war, as everyone would be after one Naruto's head. He suddenly let out his ki, and every last one of them shut up. Naruto whimpered in his sleep, making Hiruzen tone it down a bit. He rocked him left and right before Naruto fell in deep sleep slumber again. If you fools kill Naruto, then the Kyuubi will be free, and then what? It will regain his chakra in a few years and return to finish what it started. And this time we will not have Minato to stop it. Hiruzen snapped. The civilian council fell silence while the clan heads nodded readily, knowing full well that he was right. Hiruzen wired the Jinchuriki with the chakra of the Nine-Tailed. Danzo wondered as expected. I suggested that you let me take over their training and upbringing. I will help them control their emotion better and make them absolutely loyal to the village, he suggested calmly as suddenly Mibiki and Haruno snared, and everyone in the room winked. Yes, where are the princesses of the Uzumaki clan? She whimpered. They are the hero of the village. I demand to know of their condition. She asked with a sense. Kushina will take them to the Uzumaki compound in the fire capital, Hiruzen admitted bitterly, so as to keep them safe there under the protection of the Daimon. She will return after she has them trained well enough for them when the time of the gaining exam is upon us. Hiruzen told her solely. Danzo stood up, respected outrage. You can't allow that, Hiruzen. The Jinchuriki must stay close to the village and the Hokage. They should be trained properly. We need to show our strength to the other villages in this moment of weakness. Also, I can train them to be strong and loyal to the village. Having her have her brought back this instant, he demanded, and Hiruzen sighed at the point, power-hungry old fool. To think he was once his friend. Oh, the irony. While that is true, Danzo, you yourself have clarified that we don't have the necessary forces to spare for their protection. For their protection, they will be much more safe at the fire capital. Also, Kushina is better to train them, as I am sure you know the reason. Plus, they will return during the time of their graduation. What's the problem do you have with that? Hiruzen remarked offhandedly, seeing everyone nod and agree with Mibuki. Expected Mibuki, who kept searching about keeping the princesses in the village. Danzo stand at being outdone and losing his chance to have a strong weapon under his control, but sat down in defeat. Hiruzen sighed inwardly in relief that Danzo had no interest in Naruto, seeing that he had no chakra of the Kyuubi within him. He was practically unuseless to the man. Oh, how ironic the thought to him. through to him. Then they all asked what would he do about Naruto, and they said to lock him up in the Anbu headquarters or send him off to a far off island to be isolated, or more other ridiculous ideas, mostly from the civilian council, and he instantly shut them down by leaking a bit of key again. Thankfully, Naruto was too deep in sleep to notice it this time. Naruto will have a normal life and become a loyal shinobi of this village, Hiruzen declared with a stern in his steel in his voice. I hereby declare that no one shall speak of the link between Naruto and the QB to anyone of the younger generation. This is an S-rank secret punishable by death without trial. Hiruzen roared. Everyone fell silent before his furious explosion. Hiruzen had to at least make sure that Naruto made some friends of his age. Everyone hesitantly agreed and talked about the danger include to the village. Included to the village. It forces and the other political matters right until they called it a night. 3 hours later, Hiruzen went back to the Hokage Tower to spend the night with young Naruto and with an aching back. He finally got in bed and blissfully slept with little Naruto snuggling in his chest while he kept his body tightly wrapped up in his arm. Wrapped boy tightly wrapped in his arm. He was to be his grandson in everything but blood. Hiruzen thought to himself and finally drifted off to sleep with a content smile. Naruto softly snored sound like pure pars in pearls, pearls in Hiruzen's ear all through the night. That's all for the first chapter. I know the first chapter is very long, and the second chapter will be released tomorrow or the day after. That's all for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.